Let's go through how to propagate some of my favorite indoor houseplants, starting off with the fiddle leaf fig. The fiddle leaf fig cutting that I propagated is now planted and pushing out her own leaves. Here are all my tips for a successful fiddle leaf fig propagation. I actually took 2 cuttings from the same stem, and one was successful and one wasn't. The one that rooted was the middle cutting, so there was a cut on top and bottom. The cutting that was from the top did not root. For the cutting that was successful, it took a few months to push out roots, but I did take the cutting in winter, which is not recommended. I changed the water monthly and added a liquid NPK to help with rooting. I waited until the roots were a good few inches long before planting for a successful transfer. As for the mother plant, I kept the section in bright light and also misted it. I know everyone hates misting, but humidity is key. The mother plant has pushed out so much new growth that of course I've chopped the second side. Pruning really is the best way to get new growth on your plants. Let me know if you have any questions. Next up, we have the snake plant. Snake plants can be propagated either by division. Division is when you separate the plant by the roots. This can be done on many plants, including the bird of paradise and Peperomias as well. Division is a great method if you want more plants faster because you are separating mature plants that can go straight into another pot. Snake plants can also be propagated via the pups that you can pull off and also by taking single stem cuttings. Single stem cuttings can take a long time to root, and they also stop the original leaf from growing. Separating the pups is a much faster method and can be done in soil or in water. For the bigger plants I divided, I popped them straight in soil. For this small pup that I pulled off the base of the plant, I put it in water, and within a few weeks she'd already started to grow roots. I'm going to keep this one in water for longer to test out snake plants as a hydro plant, so follow along. Next, the begonia. I took cuttings of this begonia in February and tried out 2 different propagation methods to see which works best. Half of the cuttings are going straight into soil and the other half are going into water. It's been 2 months now, so let's check which propagation method worked the best. One of the first things I noticed was the water propagation flowers were pink and the ones in soil were red. The second thing I noticed was the soil was basically a fail. Out of all of the cuttings I put in there, only one formed roots properly, and a second one only formed 1 root. I was really surprised by this, mainly because the cuttings looked fine, so I didn't know that nothing was happening down below. The water propagation, on the other hand, was nothing but a success. Every single one of my water propagation cuttings rooted. The roots are thinner than the one that propagated in soil, but it is still a much better result to me. I have always preferred water propagation because it is less work and maintenance, and you can see exactly what is going on the whole time. And it's just prettier. A lot of the cuttings are still in water and they are all producing new leaves as well. This is one happy plant. On to spider plants. Let's use some spider plant babies to make new hanging plants. Spider plants are one of the few plants which I think propagate just as well in soil as they do in hydro. This is because the pups come with roots ready-made. Making new plants is super easy. All you need to do is snip off the little spiderettes. You don't need to let them dry out like you do for some propagations, and you can push them straight into your soil. You can push a bunch together to make a fuller plant straight away, and you want to keep these fairly hydrated so they can form their new roots. These make such great hanging plants because they grow really long, and they also make these little spider babies which you can leave on or take off. Here in Australia, I keep my spider plants outside year-round, but if your climate doesn't suit this, you can keep them inside as well. I love these plants because they are low maintenance, fast growing, and they are also great at purifying the air. As well as providing little babies to prop, they also flower. Here's one of my favorites in my collection. She's a beauty. Next, the Pilea. This is another super easy plant to propagate because they make their own little pups as well. Simply dig out a little bit of root and snip these off. You can place these cuttings straight into water. They do not need to callus overnight. Roots will start to develop quickly. And once you plant it in soil, it'll produce its own pups as well. This is one of the reasons it's known as the friendship plant. It is so easy to propagate that there is endless Pileas going around for you and all your friends. Now, the Rhaphidaphora Tetrasperma. This is known as the mini Monstera, and just like the Monstera, you need to include a node in your propagation. This plant will vine, so you can take lots of cuttings from the one. As this plant tends to vine, it is very easy to take multiple cuttings. Just ensure the nodes are submerged in your water because this is where new roots will come from. This plant will root very quickly and you can keep it in hydro or plant it in soil. I had a whole new plant in just a few months from this original mother plant. She is one of my favorites, and like the friendship plant, is a great one to give away to your friends and family. Next on my list to go through is philodendrons, with a philodendron Brazil as my example. This is another vining beauty, which is pretty forgiving when it comes to propagation. Again, you can take multiple cuttings and include a node in each one. Make sure you don't have large sections of stem like this because that can rot in the water and affect the whole plant. This one is a little slower to root in my experience, but once it does start growing roots, it grows in abundance. Unlike the Tetrasperma, these roots are a lot thinner, but again, they are very easy to keep in hydro, or you can also plant them. Some of my cuttings have been in water for over a year now and are absolutely thriving. This larger one here I have planted in soil. Now the Scindapsis. Scindapsis is out of control, so let's give it a haircut and try a new propagation method. I cut off a bunch of the length and I'm going to use the water propagation method as I usually do, but I'm also going to try a new soil method. For the soil method, I'm taking leaves and ensuring each one has a node, and then I'm going to plant this straight into soil. Got some new Cappiura pots in the beige color, which I think will look really great with the Scindapsis leaves. Filling some nursery pots with some arrowed soil, and then I'm just going to pop each little leaf cutting on top and give it a good mist with water. Each of these nodes should turn into roots and you should have a full bushy plant. I gave it a good misting and popped it in a sunny spot. Side note, using a Lazy Susan for plant care was such a good hack, it was so easy to turn them around. Let's check in on the roots. I've done water propagation a bunch of times, but this was my first soil propagation with the Scindapsis, and to my surprise, the single leaf cuttings all rooted. Now let's go through some of my general propagation tips and what not to do. If your water propagation has failed and you can't figure out why, stick around for this video. There's two common reasons why, and the first is the base of your cutting is touching the bottom of your vessel. You want the bottom of your cutting to be suspended in the water so that there is plenty of room for the roots to grow. The second reason is that your propagation may have fallen into your vessel and the leaves and stalk are getting wet. This can lead to both the stem and the leaves rotting. To fix this issue, you want to choose a vessel that is longer than your cutting is so there's plenty of room for the roots to grow, but also not so wide that the plant falls into it. Opting for one with a cork lid with a hole with it is a safe bet. If your water propagations are turning the water green, it is time to switch to amber glass. Amber glass keeps out the UV rays and also heat, which keeps your water cleaner for longer. As the water stays cooler, your cutting may grow slower, but as you can see from this one cutting, it is definitely not an issue. Clear glass heats up faster, which does create a great growing environment, but it's a growing environment for your cutting and for algae. I'm slowly building up my collection of amber jars and vessels. I found some very cute vintage bottles at thrift stores, but you can also get them online like the glass mushrooms. If your cutting is too big for your vessel, you can add a cork lid as well. This will stop the cutting from falling into the water and potentially rotting. Happy propagating, bye!